We're back. We finally arrived. We have new, exciting information about Marathon. They've actually done a lot. There's a lot in this video, apparently, that is exciting people, including one thing. I've not watched the video yet, but I saw one thing clipped on Twitter that actually I was like, okay, that's actually freaking cool. You know, oh, actually, that makes me feel like, you know, this. Boom! Boom! That gets 3 booms. So we're going to talk about it, but there are actually some legitimately really cool ideas they're putting in place. Like, for example, in extraction shooters, one of the biggest problems is that you don't know how long like dead bodies have been there. You don't know if somebody's right around the corner or if you know, this person died at the very start of the round. And they're apparently going to be doing something where like they literally have bodies decomposing throughout the match. So if you get to the point where you can learn how to read the bodies and the blood spills and stuff, you can determine how long they've been dead or if they were just killed, and you should be on high alert. Really, really cool idea. Very clever. And that's the kind of thing I want. That's what I like. Like, finally, interesting, fresh ideas that are not just the same thing we've seen over and over again. So we're going to look at this video because apparently there's a lot, and I'll interject as we go through it because I've actually spoken to a number of people that have been playing this in the closed play tests, and they weren't supposed to talk about it, but you know, they wanted to talk about that and share some thoughts. So let's see what they've got going. Here we go. Already I can tell that the post-processing effects have been overhauled, and they actually listened to a piece of Luke feedback. That gets 1 boom. Boom. Actually, you know what I can do? I can do this. I can do this. I can add it to the soundboard. Hold on. Jeff.
Boom. Boom. Boom.
Okay. Okay. Now we can do it. They actually listened to a piece of Luke feedback. Damn it, it didn't work. It didn't work. We'll do it live real quick. One more time. It's not working. My soundboard's dying. Everything sucks. Moving on. This is why, you know, people are like, where did the sound bites go, Luke? Where's the AC Valaha? Where's the, that's most definitely what's up? Where's the Todd 16 times the detail? My poor soundboard is dying, and yeah. Professional streamer. Thanks for the money, guys. Going to the best equipment around. I love the Go XLR, bro, but they don't support it anymore. They don't. Sucks ass. Sucks ass because I love it, but it just slowly is dying. Anyway, continuing. What I was saying. So they listened to a piece of Luke feedback. They asked me, what is one thing that if you could change instantly, what would it be? And I told them during our feedback session back in April when I went to the studio, bro, change the grass. It looks too like Fortnite-y mixed with Breath of the Wild. It like drove me crazy. And just to give you a little like side by side, this was like the original gameplay trailer reveal. And look at the grass and foliage. It's like all very, very weirdly glowy, and it all just kind of blends together, and it doesn't really look like grass. It looks like the fake grass in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory that Augustus Gloop's mother eats. Remember? When she like grabs up the grass and eats it. I think he does that too. Augustus Gloop. Augustus Gloop, Augustus Gloop, the big fat greedy nincompoop. And now they've actually fixed it, and it looks like real grass. Looks way better. Shout out grass.
Players want more challenge. The whole point of an extraction shooter is that you're challenged to even survive in this world.
We heard loud and clear from the alpha. The world didn't feel dangerous. The world didn't feel...
Lars is legitimately a cool guy. We talked to him about a bunch of their design philosophies and stuff. And he's an OG as well. He's been around forever.
lived in.
Tau Ceti 4 to us is this place that really doesn't want you there. And that sort of survival narrative really fits really well with the kind of world that we're creating.
Dude, the environmental effects, they've also completely overhauled. So everything like smoke, the sort of like God rays, the fog, all of this has been overhauled. It does look significantly better.
The survival narrative really fits really well with the kind of world that we're creating.
The world needs to...
Yeah, that's my contribution to the game is the grass. You're welcome. Everything else is on them.
feel like there is something sinister underneath the surface, even when the colors are really bright.
You should not be here.
We want to marry the classic Bungie game feel
where you are blasting stuff in the face and it feels amazing, with the sort of high tension of the survival genre.
If you want good loot, you have to go to places where you're taking risks, either risks from other players or risks from AI.
So we have all these tools now, Rook with Prox Chat, and the way the game works and sort of how tense it is. I think all those things work together really well.
So the Prox Chat thing, they've added. When we played the game and did the preview back in April, there was no proximity chat because they were afraid of toxicity. And they didn't know, I think how they phrased it in a weird way. We were like, is there proximity chat? And they said, well, the whole toxic problem and toxic discourse problem in live chats and proximity chat, we just haven't found a way to solve that yet. I was like, that's a weird way to describe that. Because it's like, in a way, it's kind of like a feature, you know? It's like the toxicity is also part of the thing. Like, it's part of what you're doing. Like the whole burnt peanut trend literally is entirely based on proximity chat. Like, all of this is tied to proximity chat. What is this one?
Oh, go, 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 Coach, he needs our help.
Coach, he's absolute one shot. He's absolute one shot right here. Absolute one shot alive. Trying everything. Dead.
What, another one is right, over here, in the tunnel.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, he swung out. Behind the desk.
I'm going in.
Yeah, I'm swinging with you. Give me 1 sec. Behind
I'm thirsty because I'm an asshole.
Close right.
Jesus Christ.
Worry about a pop. Right?
Got him, one more. On me.
Close
Oh,
left.
no.
Kadinga, kablam, kabloozy.
Ping.
That's one.
Like, all of this is tied to prox chat. This particular clip doesn't have much prox chat, to be fair. But a lot of his most viral clips that have helped the game explode into popularity are based entirely on prox chat and what's possible with it. Being able to talk to other players on other teams, negotiate, and you can collaborate with each other. Like, it's legitimately a major component of these types of games nowadays. And it was something they were just not gonna do. They just weren't gonna do it because they were worried people might say mean things. And it's like, if you're trying to get adults to play your game, which, spoiler alert, the adults have all the money. You heard me. If you want people to spend money on microtransactions and expansions and stuff, the adults have the money. The kids got to go to mama and dada and see if they can get enough V-Bucks to buy the new season pass or whatever. But the adults, they'll just spend 10 bucks here, 5 bucks there, 20 bucks on a skin here and there. Those are the people you really want in your live service game. And those are the people that want prox chat because they grew up in COD lobbies, which were way more toxic than anything going on here. Like, it was those old COD lobbies. I know it's been said 1,000 times, but seriously, people nowadays could not survive in those old school lobbies. They were insane.
You have another Rook. Come on, stop that. No. Sorry.
The Marathon ship is essentially a ship that we sent out from Earth, an Earth that was overpopulated, to explore and colonize a star far away that we call Tau Ceti.
So I think what they're about to go into is the Marathon ship map. One of the biggest critiques of the game back when we saw it in April was that the maps were fairly small and there weren't many of them. We only got to see 2 maps. There were going to be 3 at launch, and the 4th one would come after launch, and that was the Marathon ship, and it's like the Endgame map that's high difficulty, high challenge. And they said, like, the 2 things that are most exciting about the game are the ranked mode and the 4th map on the Marathon ship. The ranked mode wasn't built yet, and the Marathon ship was coming after launch. So it's like, okay, so how is that, like, how do you say that's the most exciting thing? One is not in existence yet. The other one is in the works, but like, what are we doing? But it looks like they're about to explain that, and they're going to probably have it at launch, would be my guess.
In a lot of ways, it's like the tale of humanity trying to go out into the dark void of space, find a place to colonize, and failing terribly at it.
Everyone's gone, something catastrophic happened, and it's not just their absence that's important, it's the things that they left behind.
The modern race to Tau Ceti all started when a mysterious signal came through the galaxy.
The turmoil that sort of ensues gives rise to all these corporations that were invested in this Marathon project now going, what happened? How do we recoup our investment?
And then layered on top of that is the greed and corruption of all of the different factions and corporations and revolutionary groups.
In our version of the world, we send people out not just to discover what happened, but also to collect from the things that remain there, and those people are runners.
As a runner, you're a biocybernetic mercenary who's traded their human body for a biosynthetic one.
You're not an unkillable god slayer. You are a mercenary, a disposable mercenary. You will live, you will die.
They are not people. You are the person. You go into that shell and adopt the personality matrix that is specifically designed to help you do the thing that you need to do. And you've been hired by these factions to come to Tau Ceti to scavenge it for anything that might be of value.
As a runner, you've left your body behind. You've traveled light years so that you can have access to the ultimate payday.
With extraction shooters, it is all about survival. There are other people who want the same things that you want, and it's up to you to best them.
But there's quiet periods where you're listening for the anticipation of something. Could there be another crew in the distance? Did I just hear a gunshot? Did I hear AI just alert?
Yeah, no, all of this is like, they're kind of just describing extraction shooters in general, but it's why I actually think, you know, there was actually a comment on I think their official Twitter post where they said something to the effect of like, Arc Raiders walked so that Marathon could run. I think it's quite early to be saying that, to be fair. But I think the whole narrative in the lead up to Arc Raiders and Marathon, because again, they were supposed to launch quite close to each other originally. The whole narrative was which is going to win. Like, will Arc Raiders beat Marathon? Will Marathon beat Arc Raiders? And this is back in like April, May. But I think that's the wrong question. I think what's actually happened is that Arc Raiders has introduced a lot of casual players, which basically in this context just means non-Tarkov players. It's introduced a lot of those people to the extraction genre who previously had no exposure to it or experience with it, because all they really knew about extraction shooters was that's Tarkov, and that's the game you play if you like crushing difficult and complexity in your games, you know? And so I think there is a world and a situation in which players are starting to get bored with Arc Raiders, and Marathon comes at like the perfect time to scoop some of those players up. And I think that's what they're hoping for.
Velvet Patterns donated 20 euros through Super Chat.
Thank you.
Believe it or not, Tarkov had the same issue with VoIP. The CEO was against it because of toxicity, then considered it being locked to using radio's frequencies, but decided on 15 seconds of VoIP.
15 seconds with a second of cooldown. Yeah, well, it's one of those things where this is one of those other nuances people can forget. There are countries where there are pretty strict laws, and, you know, freedom of speech, let's say, is not a huge thing, you know? And so there are regulations on online discourse, on threats being made. You can, you know, face legal consequences for things that you say on social media. So it then brings a lot of these companies instantaneous heartburn when they think of the possibility of like two people are playing a game. Let's say an adult is playing against a teenager, and the adult is toxic and like threatens the person on the other end. They don't realize it's a teenager or somebody underage, but they make a threat to a child effectively. That's what the headline would say, right? And then the company is responsible for creating a platform that facilitated that. Oh God. And these companies are horrified at that. So I'm sure their lawyers are like, just don't do it. Don't do it. It's not worth the risk. Not worth the risk, you know? Yeah, in the US, you can threaten any children you want. It's okay. USA. But yeah, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, because that's a question, it's a concern, they just don't want to risk it. So their impulse is to just not bother with it. And you know, I can at least understand that. I think it still really harms the game by not doing that, but still. Let's see. Joshua, real quick, thank you. Last subscription of the year. Just wanted to thank you for all the amazing year of content. Thank you so much for what you do. And honestly, your streams are like a great company to me while I play games or do stuff around my place. Thank you so much for what you do. I hope 2026 brings Even more great content, memes, inside jokes, and fun times with the stream. I wish you a Merry Christmas, an excellent New Year, and an even better start of the new year to you, Nikki, the kids, pets, and to the community. Thank you, Josh. Very sweet message. Thank you, my friend.
At
And
Kyle
all the same
Parker's
to you.
1720
Have a wonderful
donated
holiday.
$10 through Super Chat. Embark rated Arc so Bungie could raid Art.
Is that like a triple entendre? That broke my brain, dude. Embark rated Arc so Bungie could raid Art. That's funny. That's funny. What I was saying is, I do think that this could seriously help Marathon, just in that now there's millions of players who understand extraction shooters as a genre who didn't before. And they understand it in large part because of our creators. And if this game comes out March, it could be at the perfect time where people are kind of burning out on our creators a little bit. They're just looking for something different. And this could offer them something in the same vein. The other thing is, there's a lot of Apex players looking for something to sink their teeth into. This game plays very similarly to Apex if you've not tried it. In a good way, I think. I love Apex. I used to grind ranked Apex arenas. It was my like no life grind. I loved arenas in Apex Legends before they took it out. And so this, like, in terms of gunplay and styling, I eat it up. So I think Apex players will like what they're seeing. I think that there's also a lot of extraction players that will like it. And there's a lot of players who just are looking for something different, first person shooter, that this will appeal to. Arenas was highly underrated, dude, for real. I played so many rounds of arenas. It's unbelievable. You know, like in Apex, you have the badges for what you've accomplished. All my badges are like arenas achievements and stuff. But anyway.
And then there's the loud, bombastic action moments where the minute something is alerted, the minute you're in that fight, now it's go time. Players particularly pose a lot of danger to you. They can make a lot of decisions that you might find illogical and completely trick you into scenarios. Sometimes the best loot box is another player that you see along the run. So there's a few different ways you can play the game. So one of them is you can play in group, both with your friends.
So already, like, the UI, I mean, we knew that the UI was going to be overhauled and significantly improved. So, you know, that's not a shock that it looks way better, but it's nice seeing it in action because the previous UI was like super bland, very work in progress. And I mean, this is just night and day. Well, again, we knew it was happening, but it's still nice to see. You can see you also take a quest with you whenever you start the round, so that's what's associated there. Of course, the main weapons, shield, and healing items and stuff are all listed there. Modifiers are listed there. I want to know if they're going to mention the like cooldown for sprinting, because that was it was called heat buildup, and it was really annoying. So maybe they've overhauled that. Matthew says, hey Luke, with the super chat, thank you. Hey Luke Lurker here. With all the talk around extraction shooters, it just makes one think, what could have been with The Last of Us multiplayer? If Marathon flops, they could bring it back to Ark's, due to Ark's success. I think the problem with that is that it wasn't that the game was like bad. That's not what was claimed. They basically just said, in order to make this work and support it, we'd have to turn into a full live service studio. Like, we turn into new Bungie. And that means no more Last of Us, no more Intergalactic Heretic Prophet, no more Uncharted. Like, that would become their thing, you know? So I think for them, it was more a process and like infrastructure issue than purely a game issue. I do think we'll see some form of The Last of Us Online, whether it's a mode in the next game or something. Like, I don't think they're going to let all that work just go to waste, but yeah, I'm not sure if we'll ever see The Last of Us Online launch as like its own dedicated game, you know?
At that_Jake_guy donated $9.99 through Super Chat.
Thank you.
As an Apex guy, I think the Apex community is way too loyal to the game to play something else. Apex has an incredibly unique feel, and I don't think Highguard will scratch that itch.
Just my opinion. Well, to be clear, I agree Highguard probably doesn't. Highguard to me feels more like it will appeal to I don't I legitimately, I was like, no, it doesn't appeal to maybe Valorant. No. Maybe Like I was trying to think of like any game that it like could appeal to. I don't know, dude. Even freaking Overwatch is sort of not making a comeback because it was never like dead, but like even Overwatch has gotten a good number of updates. The quality of the game is like better than it's been in a very, very long time. Like I don't know if there's like a big weak game that is going to be losing players to be cannibalized. But I mean, Apex, I think at the very least, I've spoken to a few friends, so this is purely anecdotal, but a few of the friends that I used to play arenas with, like they've been kind of left out in the cold because they're like, don't really like the battle royale. Like I play it because I like the movement and abilities in Apex, but I'd like to try something else. People are asking for an Apex, and by people I mean at least a couple of I've spoken to. They've been asking for like an arenas or an extraction mode within Apex, which I'm like, careful what you wish for, because you might be getting it. Continue on.
And also through crew fill, which will just match you with 2 other players. You can play solo, and you'll jump into a game with a bunch of other solo players.
Ooh.
In solo, I think
So solo queue confirmed. When we asked them back in April, we said, can you add a solo queue? They said, we've designed the entire game around trios. You can go in solo, but you'll be playing against trios. So super high risk, high reward. Because if you can wipe an entire team, you get 3 people's loot to yourself. But they've actually gone through and added solo queuing. And he said specifically they will pair you with other solos.
You can play solo, and you'll jump into a game with a bunch of other solo players.
in solo, I think
That's
the
good.
stakes are a bit higher, right? You have only yourself to rely on.
You still have prox chat, so you can call out to other solos, but you know, you are playing a tense alliance game where it's really up to them whether or not they decide to honor or respect that alliance you might have created.
Oops. Yeah, well, it makes me wonder how the matchmaking works under the hood. Like, are they going to have... I think the discussion was around... I think it was the art director of our creators was talking about the aggression factor in matchmaking, which is something that's been speculated by the community for a while, was like the claim that more aggressive players that attack other players more often do more PvP, get paired with each other more often. So more peaceful players, friendly, quote unquote, players get paired with each other more than the aggressive players get paired with, which honestly just kind of makes sense, you know? Like, of course, if you like PvP, pair them with other PvP focused. And if you tend to be very friendly and you want to like trust other players, pair them with that. Maybe that doesn't work with the vibe of what they're going for here, because this like narratively, maybe it's not a very, like it doesn't work. I don't know, but it's still interesting.
It's all about figuring out what's your investment, what's your stake, when to get in, when to get out, and when to kill the other guy. Being good at Marathon is like playing poker with guns.
One of the things we've really focused on is making sure the environments are selling the tone we want to hit with the game.
We've brought a little bit of groundedness, a little bit of grit, a little bit of darkness, a little bit of that mood that kind of is necessary for an extraction shooter to feel dangerous.
Our biggest goal has always been player immersion.
Again, shout out the grass, looks way better. You're welcome.
We're trying to keep everything as believable and realistic as possible.
So we cranked up all the material responses, feel accurate, feel realistic. You know, you'll get gloss, you'll get crud and mud. And no one of those things is all that sexy, but when you layer in just a little bit more, you know, responsive to light, a little bit more responsive to the player, things will part, water will pool. Layer in all these different things, the world becomes much more alive. It feels like a real place. And then when you're feeling like a real place and you feel in danger, now your run matters.
Yeah, this looks much better. This looks much better. Just the environments, I mean, because before it was like way too, again, I go back to the comparison of the candy grass in Willy Wonka that Augustus Gloop is shoveling into his face. Like, this looks much better.
I look back at some of the alpha shots, and it's kind of hard to tell when it's sunny or when it's rainy. Weather feels like weather now. But like when it's sunny, you get this really nice like bleaching effect. It feels bright. It feels like warm when it's sunny now.
Yeah,
I feel like we're
Bloom
just
goes a long way, dude. Bloom as a post-processing effect is goated. It looks great.
Liberating that color so much more. I think it just contributes to the whole effect.
So we have dead bodies in the game now. We also have like decay on the runners themselves. Like you'll actually see them fall apart. We're actually dropping the body. The body stays there and the body slowly decays over time as you loot it.
That is legitimately a very cool, unique thing. Does Tarkov have anything like that? I'm honestly not sure. But the idea basically being that you can figure out if somebody was just killed or if they've been dead for a while or not. Like, that's legitimately a gameplay feature and mechanic that you might not even realize is there, but it's all about your understanding of the environment. You see the body decaying, you're like, okay, they've been dead for a while. I don't need to stress. I can take my time looting. But if they have a tiny blood puddle and they look totally fine, it's fresh. Be careful. You know, I really, really like that.
So you come into a room and you see a bunch of carnage, but you see one body is still pristine. You know that their killer is probably close and you are not safe. If everybody is just a messy goop, you're probably okay.
A mess of goop. No.
Audio is a huge gameplay component in Marathon. Every sound plays a function. Footsteps tell players everything. It's telling you what is the type of threat that's around you. Where are they at? Are they above you? Are they far away? Are they close by? So if I'm in bioresearch and I hear a particular material type, I know, hey, they're on the second floor and they're in this room. Our hero is the world. So we're constantly trying to figure out where can music help reinforce what is the vibe and intent of this place.
I do really like the idea of like the floors being made of different materials. And of course the runners have different soles on their feet than the like robot, whatever guards or whatever you call them, sentinels. And so they walk differently, they sound differently. So if after you play a lot of the game, you should start to be able to understand where somebody is around you based on the sound response, the material that they're stepping on, all of that. I do think that's genuinely a very cool thing. It's hard to get right though. So many games are like, we have footsteps, and then if they're close, they are louder. Like that's the extent of the audio design. But what they're aiming for sounds much more elaborate.
The discussion about the interaction between score and sound design. And I wanted to create a score that wasn't just like full of instruments you've heard before. The job was, how can I make what I'm seeing, this race to survival, even more nervous and even...
I'm sorry, this has nothing, this is ADHD brain in full force. Sorry, not sorry, cancel me, I don't care. What is it about artists where like the boldness of their art is directly correlated to the size of their glasses, you know? Like I was talking to somebody, she like runs like the she helps run like the symphony and everything. We went to like a Christmas symphony thing the other night, and she was one of the organizers that heads up like the arts thing in this city, and she also had like huge framed glasses. And so like I didn't know who she was, but I could tell from across the room, oh, she's like in charge of something arts related, because she had the big frames on her glasses. And it's just funny. I've noticed. Maybe it's like a bold thing where it's like, yes, I'm a unique individual. I'm gonna wear the bold frames, you know? I don't know what it is. But like this guy, if you ask me what's what's his role, programmer, level designer, whatever, I would be like, probably composer. You know, it's funny. I don't know. I wear glasses. Yes. If I ever show up wearing like big, thick rimmed glasses or something, you'll know that I like moved into game development and I'm like now very much an artsy person. I'll just sit like this 24/7. Perhaps.
even more terrifying or even more thrilling.
Not to be clear, I like the glasses, frankly. I'm saying all of this because I'm jealous and I kind of low-key want them. Can somebody look up what those glasses are? It would be kind of funny if I wore them at the next preview event or something. Wouldn't that be funny if I showed up wearing them? They're kind of cool. I kind of dig them.
We have 4 zones, and each one of those zones has its own sort of approach to kind of level design and what it asks players to kind of think about and do. You're going to start with perimeter. You're kind of on the outskirts of the colony. It's a little more spread out. You got a little bit more areas to be safe and to sneak around, but it's also a little more straightforward.
It really brings this sense of scale It sits like in our fantasy as expansion site for the colony on the very edges of where they had settled on Tau Ceti. UESC are also there trying to understand what has happened and secure the area. Death is a part of Marathon. It happens a lot, even on perimeter, which we talk about as a more friendly zone to new runners. You are still gonna die a lot.
Yeah, so one of the most interesting things about this whole process was when we spoke to the designers like Lars and Joe, Joe being the creative director, guy in charge of the whole game, or game director, was them discussing the survival rates. Because it of course makes sense. They have all the data. They know how, like, what percentage of the time you are likely to survive when you play a certain map. It's true of Arc Raiders too. They know on this map, you are expected to survive this percentage of the time. This one, this percentage. And that's how they gauge difficulty. That's how they balance the PoE encounters, and because you can't really balance POV or PvP. So it's how they balance PvE encounters and you know, versus PvP. And it was really, really interesting because I just never really thought of that, like balancing difficulty within an extraction shooter like that. But I don't have the exact numbers in front of me. I'd have to go back and look at my video from the preview event where I referenced it. But they said something to the effect of, like, you know, the starter maps, you survive maybe like 50%, 60% of the time. But for an extraction shooter to have purpose and like be rewarding, when you extract, it should feel like an accomplishment. And if you're doing something 90% of the time, it doesn't feel like an accomplishment. It feels more like an exception when you fail. But the exception should be when you succeed and get the reward, right? And so they were trying to balance it. They're like, yeah, the really high level stuff is probably more like 30 to 40% survival rates. And I was like, yeah, I guess I just never thought of balancing it. But that's basically what they're trying to do. 50% survival rate in Tarkov is really good. Well, I think that's what they're going to be shooting in the Endgame stuff. So like the Marathon ship that they referenced, that is going to be like 30%, and the buy-in is crazy high, and like that's going to be for very, very few people, would be my expectation. Like those, I don't think those lobbies will be very full because it'll be very, very high level players in there.
Attention, unauthorized runner. You are trespassing in a military security zone.
It was really important to us that the UESC were not trivial to fight.
When you face them on Tau Ceti as a runner, you are the outlaw. You are trespassing.
They have a little bit of this haunted tone. So you can see they have this floating locomotion, they get these sparks, they have these sigils over their faces. Sometimes their behavior feels almost like they're possessed a little bit, like are they taking in commands from a remote AI? The elite tier is sort of like the Stark Blue. The mini boss.
When we went to the event, Tobias,
sometimes their behavior feels almost like they're possessed.
Tobias, he's a senior concept art lead. Joe Cross, who's the art director, was not there when we went. So he handled the presentation, Tobias did, of what like the game's art was. And you'll notice in this video, apparently Joe Cross, the art director, is just not present at all, which is interesting. They did settle the dispute with Anti-Real. Apparently Anti-Real posted that it was settled to their satisfaction, which sounds like money to me personally. And shout out to that. I mean, if they take your artwork and sticker it all over the game, yeah, you should be compensated. And it sounds like they were compensated pretty nicely. So they've resolved that. But of course, the whole debacle around that is going to remain throughout the lifespan of the game. But yeah, there's no more like dispute, at least in terms of Anti-Real's art. They've come to a settlement and seemingly got a fat stack, would be my expectation. Shout out to money. Exactly, Phantom. Shout out money.
At Benny Llama donated.
Is that Skrillex? You might have been wondering where he went. He hasn't had a hit in years. Working on Marathon.
Possessed a little bit, like are they taking in commands from a remote AI?
It's a compliment. Marathon's cool. Or Skrillex is cool.
Blue. The mini boss tier is.
Dude, I haven't thought of Skrillex in ages. Bangarang. Dude, that's a throwback. You just got me so distracted. I can't deal, dude. I'm distractible enough as is. And you start that? Here we go.
The elite tier is sort of like the Stark Blue. The mini boss tier is more like a lilac. The boss tier is just going to be dipped in red.
They have these tendrils that latch out and leech
Yeah.
onto you and start sucking away at your consciousness.
Suck me. God damn it, somebody's gonna clip that now. I need to just stop talking. I think that's the key. I think that's what I gotta do.
You're getting into Marsh, you're starting to understand something bad happened here, and you're seeing signs of that in a way that wasn't apparent on perimeter.
On Dire Marsh, we've got the anomaly, and it's this strange alien entity that has erupted up out of the ground.
You're really feeling signs that this is more of an epicenter of where things went wrong on this colony.
It's got a different style of gameplay. It's more like a central complex that is rich with overlapping areas and regions that you can find yourself kind of bleeding from one encounter to another.
It's a great map to go in when you just want some action, and you're gonna need somewhere to farm.
Each map has different weather systems. It has different dynamic events that can happen, and your approach to them is never going to be consistent.
One of the needs that the design team thought that we should have is more challenging PvE activities.
Each of our zones,
Which is kind of crazy because one of the things that like was striking to me in the playtests were that the PvE encounters, like the enemy AI for the robots, is like actually low-key scary. It's kind of intense. Like they're good, dude. They're good. Like they will even go and like slide cancel into jumping animations into shooting. It's like crazy. It's crazy. Like people at least in my session, because basically we played the game, we had lunch, we played the game more, and then we went into conference rooms, and then they asked us like survey questions basically about what we thought. That's when I told them the grass looks like candy, change the grass, among other things like procs chat and everything else. It wasn't just grass, okay? Of course that was my number one concern, but one of the like what was surprising to me though is in that conference room a lot of the people were asking like and saying that they should tone down the robots because they're like, I think I died to robots more than people and it felt bad. So it's interesting that they doubled down on it. I kind of like that. I respect it.
as these bigger events that don't happen every session, but when they do happen, you'll know they're happening.
That's new.
Building these types of events into the world shake up your run and make you decide, like, what do you want to risk?
Then you get to Outpost.
The second map. Are they paying you to talk about this? Dude, I wish. Money, please. Money me now. I'm talking about this crap for free. Are you kidding me? How insane is that? How insane is that? Call me, guys. If you have money, money, please. Money now, please. Money me now.
An Outpost is a more functional, thriving UESC facility. There's scan drones flying overhead, the UESC's everywhere, there's tripwires, there's a weather hazards. It's a lot of stuff you're up against from the get-go.
Outpost is a smaller map, but it's also a lot more vertical. It's built around a specific building that we call the pinwheel.
This is just this meat grinder of a structure that's like a corkscrewed building that has nooks and crannies and hallways, and it just becomes a real, real cluster when you're in there fighting.
The floor is raised on Outpost and nothing is free. The pinwheel hosts some of the best loot opportunities.
But it's noisy, players are going to know you're doing it, so there's extra risks.
Whew. The character you're going to spend the most time with is the zones. Understanding each personality of every zone. That's the storytelling every player gets.
Every time you're on the planet, you can look up and see.
And, okay, this is just a pet peeve of mine. I understand that there is lore within a lot of these like multiplayer live service games. I get that. Like there's a lot of lore within Arc Raiders even, for example. But I find it deeply cringy when like devs are trying to explain it as if it has like a really intense narrative. When I'm like, that's not why anybody's playing. Like it's not the focus of the game, like pick your lane. You know, if you're going to do the narrative thing, cool. But it's like, you know, the Concord thing when they're like, oh, we have a revolutionary way of telling stories within our game that's never been done before. You know what it was? It was a 60-second cutscene that would rotate out every week. Like, it's just, come on. You know, like, don't piss on my back and tell me it's raining, you know, when I can tell you had asparagus for dinner. I know what's going on. Okay. Like, if it's not the focus, that's okay, but don't pretend like it is, you know. It's like, and with this one, it's like, oh, the what did he say? The exact phrasing?
Oh, that's the storytelling every player gets.
It's like, okay, you're playing in the map. That's the storytelling everybody gets. I'm like, it's a map. Like, yes, you can look up, you can see the marathon ship. That's cool. Would I count that as storytelling? I don't know. I don't know. Okay, you hating? I actually, like, honestly, I think this looks like quite good. I am pleasantly surprised. I think it actually looks quite good. Maybe that's my hot take. Cancel me. I don't care. I'll tell you what I think. I think it actually does look significantly better. Not just because of the grass, though that is a major component of it. But also just like, I think they've actually listened to a lot of the feedback. Things like solo queuing, proximity chat overhauls. Like, just those two are pretty major components. But other things like changing up the variability of the weather. Originally, it sounded like the second map, I think this one, Outpost, was originally going to be like mainly rainy, maybe with a couple of small modifiers, but now it's like every match is going to be completely different and altered. They've actually doubled down on the PvE elements. Like, so I think they're listening to the right feedback from the right people, not just like what they wanted to do. And honestly, let's be real. It's because they got a kick in the teeth with the art scandal that freaked them out. The feedback to the the playtest wasn't overwhelmingly positive at all initially. So they knew they needed to do some work. And then Arc Raiders came and just nailed it across the board. So it kind of forced them to piss or get off the pot. Like, you got to step up. And I mean, it seems like they've really tried. They've really tried. Let's be anti-real. Get that money, get that settlement, baby.
Every time you're on the planet, you can look up and see the ship floating and looming in the skybox.
That's cool.
Reminding you of why this place even exists.
And the Endgame map is on that ship, which is kind of cool.
Also reminding you that something up happened here, and you got to figure out what it was.
Marathon has a lot of loot in it. It's a huge pie. There's a ton of different implants at every rarity. There's a ton of different...
Oh, so this is new, this like UI element. So abilities, traits, heat capacity. So heat is basically stamina. It was one of the things I was hoping they'd talk about. Maybe they still will. But the joke that like everybody made at the event, it was, if they're called runners, why do we spend most of our time walking? And they were like, yeah, we've joked about that internally too. Yeah, everybody says that, whatever. But it's true. It was really annoying to have a character that you call a runner and then like everybody's walking. Because if you sprint, you build up heat, which is just kind of like an inverted stamina gauge, which normally you would drain, but with heat, it builds up. And once it reaches the top, you can't sprint anymore, and it takes a while to cool down while you basically catch your breath and cool down. And it was super freaking annoying, because it just is. Nothing feels worse than being in a game like Apex. Imagine a game like Apex where you can't sprint, otherwise you overheat and like you have to slow down for 15 seconds. It's just annoying. Like, the movement is really cool in the game, but that particular thing prevents you from doing it. Now, what they said was, we built it that way to make you start weaker, and then later in the game there are permanent upgrades and things, including core upgrades and things, that will increase your heat capacity to allow you to run further, faster, and even have like heat cool down much faster and things like that. And I appreciate it, but it needed balancing, because the version we played, it was pretty busted to the point where it was just annoying. It was like high intensity gunfight. Let me slowly walk around the corner. Okay, now I'm gonna shoot, and I'm gonna walk over there because I need my stamina in case somebody jumps me. So it just slowed down fights in this really weird way. So I hope they talk about that. Anyway,
runner cores for each runner.
Oh, the other thing I was going to look at, the other stats. Finisher, Siphon, revive speed, hardware, firewall, fall resistance, ping duration. All of these stats are there. Melee damage, loot speed, tactical. I mean, interesting. So they've got all those different stats, and they're going to be different for each runner as well. At least that's what it was back when we played it. So runners will have different stats and are better at different things, which makes sense.
Runner, there's over 400 weapon mods. Like, it's just an outlandish number of items to collect.
There's going to be a really interesting period of discoverability where players sort of figure out, what are the pieces that I have available to me? How do I get them? And how do I put them together into something that's awesome?
You can go through and look at how many iconic weapons have come from Bungie. And it's something that we really want to hold up and make sure that we're matching that legacy.
The gunplay
Visually,
in the game
they're
does
all
feel good.
really, really distinct and clearly Marathon. But we wanted animation-wise, a majority of them to feel recognizable. So when you put them in your hands, you knew how to use them.
The mods will basically allow you to increase certain stats on the guns, that battery SMG. The gold mod, full-blown, turns it into the needlet. The sidearm is a gun that is effective in close quarters, but maybe not too much outside of that. But the gold mod on this gun puts a suppressor on it, and then when I kill something with this gun, I turn invisible. And then that lends it to other build crafting if I want to sort of stack into how invisible can I be.
Even some weapon mods can improve stats.
Dude, I can imagine that being infuriating. Infuriating to play against. Like, okay, this is a deep cut. Did any of you guys ever play the game Hood? Does that even ring a bell? Do you remember Hood? It doesn't exist anymore. It's like dead and gone. Let's see. Yeah, this. 4 years ago. It was not great, but it was an attempt at like a co-op or team-based, like, objective game. I don't even know how you describe it, but we tried it back in the day, me, my wife, and a couple of friends, and it was totally busted at launch because one of the characters could pop invisibility and then camp on objectives and then had like an insta-kill. And it was the most infuriating thing ever. On the subreddit, like, one of the most common things of people posting was, the invisibility thing made me quit the game. Like, whatever the chick was that had that ability. It was like infuriating because it was just like enough to piss you off. What did they end up scoring it? Yeah, it's about right. It's about right. It just was not very good. There were a couple of like key things where you're like, did you guys not test this? Like, nothing feels worse than playing a game like that, doing well, and then you die for some really cheap, what feels like unearned reason. At least this, you know, there's ways they could balance it, but I can tell you, like, the idea that your team is getting jumped and then somebody comes in and is invisible, just killed the guy, pops invisibility again, now can't really be seen, and then jumps you again, dude, I'd scream. I'd scream.
Some weapon mods can improve stats and
to be clear, it's not full invisibility. Like, it's this where it kind of turns you can still see the outline, and like you push through the plastic door, so you'd see that move. So like, if you're paying attention, you know where the guy is. Like, you can still hit him, but you have to be paying attention. Like, if this guy is in the periphery of your vision, you might not see him, but yeah, invisibility, you got to be careful balancing. Otherwise it can feel like the most unearned cheap thing ever. It sucks. But anyway, continuing.
Even some weapon mods can improve stats and your runner shell's capabilities. So there's lots of different ways to raise the floor of your stats so that you're coming into each run strong.
Oh, okay.
Runner shells are a bioprinted body that you inhabit when you go down to Tau Ceti to scavenge the ruins of the Lost Colony.
Show me cosmetics.
Each of our launch shells is really an archetype of gameplay. So if you want to play like a frontline tank, if you want to play a rat character that wants to sneak around, if you want to find those rats, we have a shell for you.
The idea there is like, have a broad spectrum that everyone can kind of find a little bit of a home to, and then we're gonna build on top of that.
Cores and implants mold the kit into a playstyle that you want.
So examples of those are like, on Thief, I get a second grapple. On Destroyer, I pull out my Riot Barricade, and as it takes damage, it's actually converting that damage into shield back to me.
And these can be used in combination with each other to shift the gameplay style of your runner kit.
At any point you feel like you don't want to risk anything, or maybe you're down on your luck and you want the opportunity to get back, Rook's your guy.
Rook is a prototype runner shell.
It's a mode where we make it easy for you to just kind of drop into a match that's in progress and run about and try to scavenge as much as possible.
If you are going in solo to a run that's already in progress, you don't have a team, you have a very limited loadout, but you're not risking anything. This lets you kind of get in, grab a little bit of loot, and then bail.
So when you get like a really powerful gun or implant or core, it is unlocking some new space or new challenge that you've never done before, and the loot is helping you reach greater heights.
So that's interesting. So they're going to have a thing, a mode where you specifically load in solo into trio matches, and they're matches that are already in progress. So other players have already started fighting and gathering loot and all that stuff, but you go in with effectively a free loot pack, and there's no risk to it. It's just your time. So that also would encourage people to go in and play hyper aggressively, right? Because you've got nothing to lose. So it's sort of a way to fix the end of round problem with extraction shooters, which is after like 10-15 minutes, a lot of people have already extracted, and so now there's just a few others that play like super slow and nothing happens in the match after the first like 10-15 minutes. But this would inject new players into it, which is interesting, and new hyper aggressive players who have nothing to lose. Interesting. It's the problem with Arc right now is the free loadout. Well, this is why this may also introduce its own suite of problems, because what happens in extraction shooters historically is that players go in there, they collect a lot of great loot, they bring it back into their stash, and then they sit on it because they gathered it, they don't want to lose it, and they don't want to risk it. So like they get that legendary weapon, it's an incredible weapon that they got off Shroud because they jumped him somehow, but they don't want to use it because it's so valuable. They're like, if I lost this, I would be depressed for a week. So they just don't. And then you just end up sitting on all the cool stuff. It's like in an RPG when you get the potion of greater healing, and it's like, this is an amazing potion. I will save it for when I really need it. And you end up playing through the entire game, never using it, you know, because you're like, it's too valuable. It's too valuable. And so the tricky thing with extraction shooters is, how do you encourage people to use their stuff? Because if you give them a way to not need to use their stuff, they'll just not use their stuff. So I'm hearing this mode and I'm like, oh, that sounds cool. I think I would almost exclusively play that mode and then only jump in with teammates when like my friends were online. So that makes me think that like maybe I'm alone, but like I think a lot of us would just swarm into the Rook mode or whatever they said, and just play that way, so that we could gather loot without a risk. There is prox chat, so you could, you know, make deals with parties and teams. But I think the whole idea with the Rook archetype, at least from what they just described, sounds like it's to encourage players to be super aggressive because they have nothing to lose. It's interesting.
Like a really powerful gun or implant or core, it is unlocking some new space or new challenge that you've never done before, and the loot is helping you reach greater heights.
The one thing that they're doing, which I think could help with that, forcing you to use the good loot, is at least how it was when we tried it. There was a minimum loadout value that was required to reach higher level maps. So like if you want to go into the marathon ship, you need 250,000 worth of stuff equipped just to load into that map. So they force you to use the good stuff to get into the high level maps that have even better stuff. As opposed to just like having a difficulty level where it's like you can go in there, it's just the PvE stuff is more difficult. Like I think that could also help.
Faction agents are such a big vehicle for tone and narrative for the world.
Yeah,
Each faction has their own motivations, their own desires, the things they're going to ask you to do.
We've got Traxxas. They're the most powerful corporation in human history. They have very long arms and very deep pockets to kind of get what they want.
So they might.
I'm so stupid, dude. They said long arms and I was like, oh, like they're long. Like, oh, he meant metaphorically. Ah, okay. This is why I'm a YouTuber and I'm not making video games.
Ask you to go and find specific weapons or mods.
Congratulations, runner. Your last performance evaluation was rated on track.
If you're a PvP player, one of the factions is called Arachne. They're essentially a death cult. What that translates to is that they're asking you to go and kill other runners.
The sacred thermodynamics of violence.
Mida is all about destruction.
Yeah, and this is interesting. Whoops, I got lit up. This is interesting because it's a game, or the factions have quests associated with them that are each tied to a play style. And I wonder if like that's also a weirdly sneaky way they could matchmake, you know? Maybe like if they see a player that's leveled up this PvP based faction and they're really high level in that faction, they're like, okay, they are a PvP player primarily because that's where, you know, they've put all their efforts. So we're going to match them with other people that are heavy in PvP. And then maybe if you have a more peaceful faction, you pair those people together. That could be interesting. Could be interesting. Oh no, are they making you PvP in a PvP game? Well, here's the thing. PvP is quite fun in extraction shooters when you go in with that mindset. There are, however, it seems, a lot more people out there who like to go and play quote unquote friendly, you know, and those more casual players, they are much greater in number. They may not be as hardcore, so maybe their hour play counts are not as high, but I think it's important to also try and keep those players happy if you want the widespread, the wide gamut of players available to you. Arc Raiders has done a really good job of it, where if you want to go and you worked a 12-hour shift and you want to come just put 30 minutes into the game, you can do that, and they have some way of matching you seemingly primarily against other players who are less aggressive. But if you want to go be PvP demon mode, that's cool. It was also funny. We were talking about that in the context of Arc Raiders, and some people just did not understand the distinction with like toxicity. Being like playing PvP is not toxic. That's part of the game, right? I'm not saying that like you attacking another player is toxic. Okay, that's not toxic. What is toxic is going through voice chat, prox chat, and saying, I'm friendly, you're friendly, great, let's do this, and then shooting them in the back of the head. Like, that makes you an a-hole. Okay, I don't care what anybody says. That's stupid. That makes you a bad person. You know? Like, I don't trust you, and I never will. You know, that I feel is toxic. If you're just like tricking people and lying to them, that's toxic. But maybe some people disagree. It's part of the game. Don't trust people. Okay, I guess. I still don't have to like it, you know. You know, your stream is featured on YouTube, whatever that means. Oh, I don't know what that means either. Who knows? Well, shout out YouTube for featuring. Let's see. About stamina, says Ismail with super chat. About stamina, runner shells are basically robots that run directly on or run on electricity, which generates heat, especially when it draws more power to sprint. Yes. What I said is it needs to be balanced so that it doesn't feel like you're trying to sprint underwater. Know what I'm saying? Like, I understand that explanation, but I feel like they could make it better. You know? See what I'm saying? You know, it's the distinction between like something being justified in the world doesn't necessarily make it fun, you know?
At Velvet Patterns donated 10 euros through Super Chat. The Tarkov player base is nearly split 50-50 between the PvP side and the PvE side. The PvE side thrives due to the weapon system, lore, vibes, and the unofficial mods on the single-player
Tarkov mod. I gotta find a way to lengthen it. It always cuts off the last like few words. Yeah, well, and I think that that's like even the most hardcore games, like a Tarkov, still have an audience of people who like want to go and do the PvE thing, you know? And I think that's fine. I think that's good. If you can find a way to keep both sides of the coin happy, awesome. And that's why I think it's important to have something like Prox Chat to enable communication and discourse. You know, if somebody wants to be friendly and not jump these people, they can do that. You know, it's also healthy for the community. Dude, we were playing Arc Raiders and literally came across a dude who's like super high level. Crazy. I don't even know like how high level he was. But dude, he dropped a couple of like, this is when we were just starting in the game. Dropped like a couple of blue weapons for us and like some nice shields and stuff that he was just carrying on him. And he said that he was loading into matches and rounds to just spread the love, is what he called it. Spread the love. And so he's like giving low level starting players really good loot to help them get their feet under them in the game. I was like, that's freaking cool, dude. That's a good thing to have in the communities. People willing to do that type of thing. And I think that that is what can reinforce like a healthy community. A healthy community. Was it Cone? Dude, maybe it was. Maybe it was. That would be funny if it was. Who knows? Anyway, YouTube chat is wild, dude. Every day. Not people. So we'll continue going through this, of course. But I think what's going to be really interesting is how or if they are able to shift the narrative for Marathon. I think everything I'm seeing looks significantly improved. Okay. The art theft stuff seems to have been resolved with Anti-Real getting a fat stack. Okay. What do they call it? Got a cheddar cheese plate, a platter, as it were. So I think Anti-Real is doing just fine right now. But the discourse around the game has no doubt been extremely negative. I think that this looks good, but they will need to continue to keep things going in a way that excites people and keeps things positive. Some might say a bag or a wad. I like wad. Wad is good. I think it's going to take more work, and they're going to get to the price point, which, yes, there is a price point. So we'll talk about that, but we'll continue. But I want to encourage people to not just throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like, let's try to keep a level head, be fair about it. You know, I think that's the key, because exactly the point of skepticism is not just being a cynical prick. Cynicism and skepticism are different. They are very different. And some people confuse the two, certainly do. Even with like Highguard, which was just revealed at the Game Awards. There's a lot of cynicism around that game. And I don't necessarily blame people for being cynical about live service hero shooters. Kind of makes sense. A lot of them are just like soulless and corporate. So I can see that. But that's not what you should aim to be. Like, you should aim to be skeptical, resist the cynical urges, be skeptical, and maybe it'll lead you to the same conclusion, but, you know, try to approach it in a different, more level-headed way, right? But let's continue. And we'll talk about Highguard after this. Don't worry. You better believe we're talking about Highguard. Yeah, who do you think you're dealing with? We'll talk about Highguard. Continuing.
They are going to give you grenades. They're going to give you claymores. They're going to let you blow the place up.
And they are irreverent and dangerous. They might ask you to upload this malware into a UESC dropship, and as it leaves, it explodes and careens off into the distance.
We have big plans. Explosive, visionary.
Each of our factions has an upgrade tree that you unlock progressively as you gain reputation.
Well, that looks way better. Okay.
And along the way, you're going to unlock these capstones that are these special upgrades. When you unlock that final capstone, you're gaining access to the best stuff in the market. You're getting gold items.
In addition, these faction upgrades can increase your runner's base stats, and those base stat upgrades are permanent for the rest of the season.
For the rest of the season. So it'll reset. I wonder how long the seasons are. Of course, you have to do this, otherwise the game just kind of plateaus if you don't reset stuff. But that's also a thing Arc Raiders is dealing with right now, is that, like, it's a big moment when that first season wipe comes along. You got to do it in the right way, otherwise people get pissed.
Access denied.
Darius, you know me. Did you miss your last round of maintenance?
Don't search. Don't dig. Don't question.
Glorious?
Access denied.
Hey,
Access
it's
denied.
okay. It's just me.
You're not alone.
The Codex is a suite of achievements, collectibles, audio logs, things that you're finding in Run that we're going to track for you over time. The more you find these items, the more story you're unlocking about them and what their role is in the world, why they're here, who cared about them, why they're as valuable as they are.
I'm repeating myself with these entries, but any fears inherent in the scope of this endeavor seem unfounded.
Within the Codex, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can unlock. Runner skins, weapon charms, stickers, emblems, backgrounds for your profile, and titles.
So it's every...
What's interesting is when we tried it in April, none of this was in the game at all. So like they asked us what was something cool in terms of like customizing your runner that you'd like to see. And so people were like, you know, maybe some decal stickers on the guns, of course, different skins for the runners and stuff. But they're describing this in the context of like objectives and things, but this is also shop stuff.
Within the Codex, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can unlock. Runner skins.
Yeah, which they call shells, or that's what they planned on calling them. But basically just different skins for each of the runners, just cosmetic.
Weapon skins, weapon charms, stickers, emblems, backgrounds for your profile, and titles.
So it's everything.
And frankly, if that's what gets you going, cool. I don't personally understand why people are willing to spend so much money on like a digital sticker, but if that's what gets you going, cool. It's just not I've never understood that vibe, you know, because some people go hard for it, dude. Some people go hard for it, like crazy, for skins and stuff. It's a little wacky. Like if this were like Where Winds Meet and I could get a goose mount, now we're talking. Goose mount, I'm down for that. But a sticker, what are we doing? In-game candles, now we're talking. Now I'll buy those. They got me there.
From your first steps on the world of Tau City 4 all the way through to becoming a vid master and taking on the most extreme challenges.
The marathon ship is the hardest place to survive in this game. And if you're not ready to take your best stuff, well, you're not going to survive. It's like a heist for a runner. Cryo Archive is big in and of itself, but it's also cold. It's also hostile.
It's gonna test every aspect of the survival game. Probably gonna be forced to run to players in ways you haven't been on other maps. You're gonna run into basically every type of environmental threat you have faced before. You're gonna fight a who's who of the highest tier UESC units, and the UESC are there in this presence you haven't seen before.
It's really cool because each of the vaults is more successively challenging than the next. And that 7th vault is where you both are going to get the coolest thing, but also where you're going to learn the most about what happened to this place.
At some point in your journey in Cryo Archive, you might start wondering if the UESC are there to keep you out or if they're actually there to keep something else in.
Uh-oh!
Nice.
Looks like a raid boss to me. That's what that looked like to me. A little Destiny 2 raid boss action. Sounds like it.
I think the thing that I'm most excited about for Marathon is getting into the hands of our players.
The biggest thing I want people to take away from Marathon is that it still feels amazing. It still feels like it has that spark.
It takes all the aspects that I think Bungie is really good at. First-person feel and gunplay, the super deep, crazy sci-fi lore, and it mixes up all those things together in a really amazing PvP package
really comes down to every single discipline that's working on the game. The animation has to be good, the sound has to be good, everything has to be working in harmony.
That's when the controller fades away, the screen fades away, you're just immersed in the world.
That is what we're trying to live up to with Marathon.
It is a mad dash. I'm not going to front about that. It's a mad dash to the finish, but that's when you got to put in the elbow grease and the extra sweat and blood it takes to get this done.
Dude, what is this? What is it? Let's go. 5 people in the extract.
I might recognize who that was.
Dude, what is this? What is it? Let's go. 5 people in the extract.
Okay. I think I know who that was, but I'm not gonna. I don't know 100%, so I won't shout it out because I'm not sure. But I'll see if he replies back. Coming March 2026. Now there are a couple of other things to know about this that have also come out. This is in their official document. As you can see, new features since the alpha. Proximity chat, solo queue, Rook, a runner shall use to scavenge matches in progress. Specifically, that one I do think sounds legitimately quite unique. The fact that the runners and the corpses decay over time, that's really cool. Something I would still like to see is the ability to drag the bodies of your teammates to revive them around corners or something. Like if somebody gets downed in the open, I'd love to be able to grab their body, pull them behind cover, and then res them, as opposed to having to res them in out in the open. But that's also something I requested back in April. It seems like they've not done that one. They did do the grass though, so shout out grass. As for other stuff, you can see they go through everything that they talked about in the video, but the price has been confirmed to be at $40. They're releasing it at $40 as a premium title. It will launch in March, and that's the tactic that they are taking. They've been consistent that it was going to be a premium experience, that it was going to be something that they charge for. And that's not really a surprise. We knew that, but I think it's also been reaffirmed by the fact that Arc Raiders just launched at 40 and found plenty of success. And let's be honest, I think the big thing that they're doing is they are looking to Arc Raiders and being like, can we get any of those players who are starting to burn out on Arc Raiders, or maybe want an extraction game that is first person? Can we get them to come and try our game? Clearly they're willing to spend $40, so let's do that. And I do think this makes more sense than for example, High Guard, I think needs to be free to play. It needs to be free to play because its competition is all free to play. Whether you look at Overwatch or Marvel Rivals or any other hero, shooter, they're pretty much all free to play. So you're trying to compete against the free guys, so you got to be free. Whereas extraction shooters historically tend to be a premium package. There are some free to play ones, of course, but they tend to be, at least the really popular ones, they tend to be paid. Y'all just admit you're broke. It's okay. So I personally don't think the $40 price point, after seeing the success of Arc Raiders, I don't think that that's a death knell or anything. As for how this plays out, when it launches, Arc Raiders will be 5 months old? 5 going on 6 months old. Historically, live service games start to get a little stale at that 6-month mark. So they could time out quite well, especially if they don't have a lot of fresh maps or other content coming to Arc Raiders. But I would expect they do, but we'll see how it kind of plays out. As for other stuff, we know that Marathon, being part of Bungie, they have quite the marketing budget associated with them. And I think the odds are pretty high that you'll see a lot of sponsored streams and stuff, which will certainly help them when the time comes. Whether it's Shroud playing it for a bit or whoever. What they showed overall, I think does look like a huge step up. Just in general, they've definitely done multiple rounds of polishing. The environments look way better. UI looks way better. They seem to have overhauled some pretty key mechanical things like prox chat, like solo queuing. Again, the Rook shell is very interesting to me. I think that that's probably where a lot of us will spend time if we play this, is in the Rook shell, going in no risk, you know, because like you guys said, it's basically the free loadout. But what's going to be really interesting is how the narrative shifts. If we look at a page like Shinobi, who, you know, I think is just generally pretty middle of the road in terms of the industry, not really somebody that comments or editorializes much. In his replies, you can see actually looks like a good amount has been done. I'm much more interested than I was before, at least. Solo play, I thought this game was multiplayer. It's solo queuing. Somebody just doesn't know how that works. I didn't realize Steve Cotton was the creative lead, one of the greatest multiplayer level designers of all time. Lockout, Midship, Sanctuary, Zanzibar. That world looks much improved and sinister from the alpha they spit out prior. This might actually have a chance to be distant. I don't believe you. Yeah, people are misunderstanding based on his post. They think solo play. No, it's solo queuing. Solo queuing. That's okay. I see why people are confused. But even on the like comment section of this, let's look at what people are saying. Okay, let's see. Because bear in mind, just a matter of months ago, their comment sections were flooded with nonstop negativity, which I would argue is mostly fair for what was going on, especially at the time. But let's see what people are saying now. Laura says, oh wow, the corpse decay thing is so cool, which I agree. That is genuinely really cool. I don't know why other games haven't done that yet. That's really good. If I get to the 7th vault and I'm not being verbally harassed by Durandil, I don't know what I'd do with myself. The soundtrack still bangs. This looks so much better than the original reveal. If this gameplay came out first, the community probably would have had a whole different reaction. Crazy to think that this is supposed to be out months ago. It's almost like if you give developers time to polish and a little fire under their butt, they can do some incredible things. Because this game has been in development for like years and years. I think, was it Dr. Lupo was saying he had been consulting on this for like 5 years or something like that? Like he'd been working on it for a long time. And so it's come together quite suddenly, but I think it's also that like, we've seen this from many different studios, but Marvel Rivals comes, gives Blizzard a kick in the butt with Overwatch, and all of a sudden they start freaking out and pumping out updates for Overwatch, and they overhaul it and made it work and updated with tons of new stuff. Like it was night and day in a matter of like 6 months. It was crazy. And same with Arc Raiders coming along and like freaking out Bungie to the point where they're like, oh God, okay, we got to really focus and try. And they added in stuff they weren't going to do before, which I think will make the game much better. Rilo, I always thought Marathon's art direction had amazing potential, but the shift in visual direction in game recently, it's actually constantly screenshot worthy. They definitely made it a lot more gritty. Yo, the foliage and environments look so much better. You're welcome, Black Doc. Yes, I'm going to take exclusive credit for the grass. Let me have this. Maybe, wouldn't it be funny if in the other conference room, like I felt like I was going on a limb being like, hey, the grass looks like candy. But in the other room, everybody else was saying it. So it's like, Luke, that's not a unique take, but I'm glad they changed it. Excellent that the bodies stay in decay now. More detailed customization would be welcome too. You are a runner. Emphasis should be on the you, which... okay. This is currently my most anticipated game. Weather conditions are sick. Seeing Steve Cotton again after Forsaken gives me hope. I played in 3 of the technical tests and they have improved so much each time. Cannot wait for March. This is a massive improvement over what we saw in April. Great to see all the feedback taken on board. Let's hope it's a success. Getting there, this is great progress. The improvements are crazy. Good, can't wait. Solo queue and prox chat, great. This looks really good, and I feel the success of Arc Raiders might not be detrimental to Marathon. Quite the opposite. It probably primed a lot of the audience who wouldn't be interested in extraction shooters otherwise, and it should be coming out late enough for people to start getting bored a bit with Arc Raiders. And all of this, I think, is like legitimately true. A lot of these look so much better. Bro hitting the G spot on that piano. What a way to say that. What a way to say that.
Brandon X donated $10. I'm actually really excited for Marathon. I haven't really played extraction shooters, but seeing the art style and short film and also seeing some unique gameplay features got me hooked on it. Definitely gonna take it out.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if they're going to do a play test or anything. I would imagine they do like a beta in like February. That would be my guess, just to let people try it and do some testing. But I think it's actually, what's funny is that the delay that happened as a result of the art situation, the art theft situation, art raiders, whatever. The delay that happened in large part because of that, and also the playtest, but you know, the art was certainly a major component of it. I think that actually probably set them up much, much better, because it forced Sony to give them more time. They're like, we can't launch it right now with how negative everything is. So we've got to delay it. They delayed it, and that amount of time that they got extra has like significantly improved it. Because again, bear in mind, I think, wasn't the original release date in September? Can you imagine if it came out 3 months ago? And like, this is where they're at now after all those extra months, but they would have had to lock it down way earlier. Like, it would have been a disaster. It would have been a disaster. It's like I've said for months, I think if they had launched in the original window, there's like a 0% chance it would have found success. Like 0% chance. Now I'd say there's like, especially after seeing this, I'd say there's like 5 to 10% chance that it gets like a solid audience, maybe more, maybe it's upwards of like 15 to 20%. It's still an uphill battle, certainly, but I think they're in a much better spot given like how much time they've had, how much work they've done to overhaul it, than I think necessary features like prox chat, and the tone is shifting. I mean, again, yeah, finally the graphic realism we were initially expecting is here. Like, not gonna lie, this looks so much better. It looks better than earlier this year. Definitely gonna give this a try when it drops. Finally, this looks great, way better than before. This looks so much better, Bungie. Please keep cooking and take your time. 2x burger mouth, friend mouth. I don't understand this comment. Am I a boomer? Is this? I don't understand what this means. Is it literally just? I'm not gonna try to make sense of it. It's one of those things. The more I think about it, I'm just gonna I don't know. moving on. Let's continue. Anyway, Sony probably threatened to send those devs to work on Destiny 2 again if they didn't get it together. Dude, we're gonna make you work on Destiny. Get it together. Come on. The world actually feels alive now. The playtest has been such fun so far. I'm really looking forward to this. Not going to lie, Bungie's cooking, boys, trust me. I mean, granted, these are a lot of very passionate folks. If we look over at the PlayStation upload, let's see what that looks like. Voila. This is the PlayStation upload, separate from Bungie. So you could argue that Bungie's comments are going to be more positive, maybe. Let's see what they say. Robin says looks significantly better. It's a timestamp. We'll skip past that for now. For those who don't know, Anti-Real, the artist they stole from, said they reached an agreement. So either they're getting paid or the artist changed. I'm not sure. I think it's both. I think they removed the stuff because they had to do that during the dispute. It's why in that live stream they didn't show any, like the director's live chat that they did. They didn't show any gameplay because they were stripping out all of those assets. So I think they both removed those decals that they used. And I think the artist got paid, I think probably. They signed, almost certainly they signed an NDA, so we'll never hear about the deal, but I think they posted that they reached a settlement and an agreement to their satisfaction. So either way, they're happy. Looks like they changed the constant fluorescent color scheme because this was easier on my eyes, so there's hope. Yeah, I think it looks better. Credit where it's due. This looks like you took the feedback serious and made some great changes. Okay, this looks so much better than a few months ago. All right, prox chat, another notch in the hope side. Would be nice if this is a single player narrative driven game. Too bad it's not. Yeah, sure. I would agree. I mean, it doesn't look bad. We'll take that as a positive. It doesn't look crappy. I don't know. Looks neat. Dude, neat is such a funny word when you're like complimenting something. Did you like my musical, mommy? It was neat. It's like the most okay kind of compliment. I enjoyed the tech test a bit. Really wish there was some sort of campaign or PvE mode. Without, I just can't justify buying it personally without a deep sale at least. Oh yeah. Sure. Somewhere Durandal is crying. Well, it looks like they made a lot of improvements. I like the colors of the design. They got Arthur Morgan up in here. Okay, what is that? What this is? Hold on, 1926.
I'm repeating myself with these entries, but any fears inherent in the scope of this endeavor seem unfounded.
Dude, wait, is that Arthur Clarke? It sounds like him. I didn't pick up on that initially.
Them, why they're as valuable as they are.
I'm repeating myself with these entries, but any fears inherent in the scope of this endeavor seem unfounded.
Within the code.
Or Arthur Clarke, Roger Clark, sorry. Who knew? Well, there you go. That's crazy. I didn't pick up on that initially. But when you go back and you look at the original gameplay reveal, like what we just looked at looks so much better. This was the original reveal. And everything is way too bright. It's too vivid and like glowing. It's kind of like cartoony. I don't know. Again, the grass. I can't emphasize the grass enough, man. I think it looks way, way better now. Way better. So, personally, after all of this, I didn't expect to be saying this, this morning, but I'm glad to be saying it. I think, or I guess it's afternoon, Jesus. I think it was a good reveal. I think that they are in a much better spot than they were certainly over the summer. I think that they actually stand a chance now. And I think they're actually in a pretty solid spot. To see almost all of the comments being positive, and all of the comments we saw on their Bungie page positive, that's like a pleasant surprise. It's like, okay, now we have to see how things shift and evolve and change, because obviously this just dropped, but the worst case scenario is if people have already settled on apathy. If people have already dismissed the game and aren't going to consider it, you've already lost. It's posted 4 hours ago. It's a 65,000 views. Usually what you see public facing is a bit behind what we see as like YouTubers behind the scenes. So like if I had a video posted 4 hours ago and it says 65 on the page, it might actually be at like 85 to 90. It just doesn't reflect or update as fast for viewers. But I think, if this continues to climb and people get exposed to this new gameplay, I think the narrative could shift, and that could certainly help it. I think it's just going to be very interesting to see if they can start to shift the narrative. They have time to do it. They've got a few months, and I think that they're going to put some money behind it to try and make it happen. They'll do the commercials and the teasers and stuff. But what I'm seeing here is much, much better, and actually includes some fresh ideas that, again, the corpse degradation thing is really, really cool. And so I'm excited to see where they go with this. I'm really excited. But I think it's looking better than it ever has, and they could have a bit of an underdog story. I still think it's like a 15%, 10 to 20% chance, something like that, that it finds success. But we'll see. We'll look at it. It's going to be the best grass of the TGA Awards. I'll email Jeff and see if they can add a category for that. Yeah. We'll try to make it happen. And the winner of the Game Award for Best Grass goes to Marathon. Dude, that'd be great. He took my thing.